Hello everybody, welcome back. My name is Noah, I'll be your host today, and this is the Big Bad Anime Channel. This will be the first in a new series called Art Crimes. Today's video is going to be titled The 7 Deadly Sins of Working as a Professional Artist in the Entertainment Industry specifically. Now this can go from any stage in the process, from just starting out and you're getting your first couple projects, maybe working on a revenue share project or working on your own original characters, your own IP. But anytime that you're going to be interacting with other people, collaboration, there's some kind of key factors on how you conduct yourself that are going to really either make sure that you're their go-to guy in the future or make sure that they never call you back again. It's that important how you conduct yourself. Now, these are in no particular order, but the first of the 7 deadly art sins that you can commit while working on a professional project. First is talking bad about or making jokes about the client, the project, or the product, or pretty much anybody that you're working with. And maybe you're working on a flavor combination for a new chip they're doing a commercial for. And to you, it sounds laughable. To you, it sounds disgusting. Keep that to yourself. You know, your job is to show up, be positive, and be a contributor and a collaborator to really bring something to the table and make their lives a lot easier on the production team. So the solution to this is to be positive and be excited and just to see the best in, well, yourself and your coworkers and the project and the product. Be grateful for the opportunity. It's a blessing. And just focus on knocking it out of the park. Now, the second of these 7 deadly sins for art professionals would be missing your deadline or not being reachable to discuss notes, changes, or your progress. So a lot of times you'll be working solo or remote. Depending on the length of the project, depending on who you're working for. A lot of times these are kind of short. Projects can be just quick turnarounds. You're getting brought in for 2-3 days. They need to be able to get a hold of you. You need to have your phone on, off of silent so you can hear the ring. You need to be and pretty much on call for the entirety of the projects. That's night or day. If they don't hear from you or can't get a hold of you, the team will go into full-on panic mode, assuming that you're lost and that you can no longer be counted on for the project. You can get fired essentially instantly for that. I mean, they can call your agent and then that's it. They just get a different artist. So the solution would be to prepare, do your research ahead of time, expect the unexpected, work late to be ahead of the schedule for the next day. I always did a couple extra hours just to get ahead of this production schedule for the next day, just in case something came up. I was able to deliver magic, essentially, and be unflappable, indomitable, as it were. So give yourself some extra hours to address that on the next workday. Be a magician because you worked late. Show up early and be that go-to guy. Be the fixer. Be Winston the Wolf. Now, the third of the 7 deadly sins for art professionals is to get frustrated with the client, the notes, feedback, or changes. Basically, to get frustrated with anything within the production schedule. Now, a lot of times when the pressure's on and the clock is ticking and you've got everything budgeted out in terms of time to get things done right before the deadline, you may get a call from a producer or somebody else who's higher up than you on the team, and they want you to stop everything so they can just discuss some note, some small detail that to you seems like it was already covered. We already discussed this. It's finished. It's decided. But they want to go through the minutia and kind of micromanage things. And that's their prerogative. It's their project. They're paying you. They get to do it as they like it and as they see fit. that being said, you might find yourself getting a little frustrated inside. You might find yourself feeling a little friction, right? That is the perfect time to remember that every project is something to be grateful for, including its difficulties, including its obstacles, and including its challenging personalities. You can be the biggest ally of any project, or you can be just another problem personality diva that they have to deal with. You get to choose. So be excited to tackle the obstacles and use that creative brain of yours to solve the problems of the project. Be can-do, be indomitable. And those are the people who really shine on the team. You can't shake them. They're always there. They're always in everyone's corner. They're always solid as a rock. That's easier said than done, but you can do it. And it just comes from having some confidence in what you bring. And also from just realizing this too will pass, even the difficult parts. It's not going to last forever. And you'll think back on it fondly, no matter how difficult it was. Just remember that. Now, moving on to number 4 of the 7 deadly sins for our professionals. Being aloof, or too cool for school, or Mr. Know-It-All. A lot of times on a project, there will be somebody who's just, they seem like they'd rather be somewhere else, or maybe they're just phoning it in. And oftentimes, those are the people that everybody's gonna, you have to deal with them because you're working with them. But if you had your choice to pick your dream team for the next project, they probably wouldn't make the cut. Just because their personality is a little bit tough to deal with. Or they just seem difficult for no reason, as my students used to say, doing too much. It's a choice. You don't have to be that. You can be a very agreeable person too while working on a project. There's really no extra brownie points for being too cool for this. It just makes you look like a jerk. So the solution to this, of the deadly sins, would be to be an excitable sponge. Open yourself up to get inspired by new influences, new ideas, subjects, and personalities. Basically, be a puppy in your attitude and in the way you come off. And not a cat. If you call a puppy from across the room, he's gonna run over there and be super excited. Be like, "What's going on? What are we doing?" And if you call a cat from across the room, you never know what you're going to get. Half the time, you're just going to get the side eye and kind of a funky attitude. And the other half the time, he may come over. You never know. So make sure that your attitude is can do and not what now. It's a big difference. And it'll make all the difference for the higher ups working on this project. You never know what they're dealing with. And being an easy to work with person can make all the difference in the world. All right, number 5 of the 7 deadly sins for working art professionals in the entertainment industry, it would be going against the grain or pulling the sled off course, being extra without being extra helpful. You can think of any creative project like a team of sled dogs. We're all mushing in the same direction, right? We all have our role, we all have our station, and we all know what we're supposed to do. If one of the sled dogs decides that they saw a rabbit that they liked and just bolts off left on their own journey, not thinking about the sled, not thinking about the other dogs on the team, not thinking about where we're going, it can really derail the project like it would a sled dog team. It can really throw everything off. So I guess the solution for this one would be leave all that divisive stuff at home. Be a team player and not a strong personality. Now, that doesn't mean you got to be a church mouse. It doesn't mean you have to just yes sir, no sir, tuck tail and walk away. That's not it. But what I mean to say is we all have things that we could drop in a conversation that would totally change the temperature in the room, right? Those conversational grenades, we don't need those on a creative project, especially when you're brought in as kind of a freelancer or a mercenary. It's like They don't need that from you. They don't need to talk politics. They don't need to go wherever it is that's off of course is not where we're going today. Just keep that in mind. They need a strong team of really innovative creatives and not just a bunch of personalities with opinions. It's a big difference. Now, number 6 of these 7 deadly sins for art professionals working in the entertainment industry is allowing yourself to get rattled by another person who's freaking out on the team. There will be times that you might get a call from a producer. It might even be on a conference call or on speakerphone with everybody, and they may decide that you're the problem, even if you've made no mistakes or done nothing wrong. It happens. People get thrown under the bus on creative projects, especially if you're low rung on the pecking order, which is true of freelancers. You're coming in, you're totally disposable and expendable. And they may decide that you were the problem. Now make sure you have your ducks in the row and that you've crossed all your T's, dotted all your I's so you can cover your butt. Right? So you can say, hey, no, we've done the work. This is where we're at. Progress-wise, everything's good. Here might be some of the potential obstacles moving forward, stuff to look out for, stuff to be aware of. And be confident and competent at all times. And calm as well. If you can, don't let your voice get that thing where you sound like you're about to start arguing or, tense. Just try to, you've done your job well, and be able to talk about that with them in a calm way, which will reassure them. Usually they're having a freak out for a reason that a lot of times doesn't have anything to do with you. It might be external factors. Pressure coming from who knows where, the client. You never know. And this is where it's really important to underpromise and overdeliver. You don't want to give them say that you're going to give them the sun and the moon by 3 o'clock. And when then they call you with the client on the phone, you don't have the sun and the moon in hand for them. So you want to be very aware of what you're saying you will deliver by what time. Make sure that's something you can do with a little bit of wiggle room. So you're not going to just barely make it, but you'll actually have some. If something comes up, you get a phone call from the producer or from your agent, you can handle those things and still make your deadline on time every time. And the antidote to this poison, or the solution to this problem, would be, as I said, to be a confident and calming presence at all times, and especially in times of chaos and pressure. Tell your team positive affirmations like, we got this, I won't let us fail, I got your back. And be supportive and be the savior. I mean, bad guys always turn their guns on each other. Allies band together and figure out how we're going to pull each other out of the fire. Keep that in mind. You could freak out with the other people freaking out and decide who's the problem and start playing the blame game. Or we can figure out, you know what? This is how we all are going to survive this and be better for it. This is going to be in the W column, not the L column. Don't worry about it. And every time on a professional project that I've worked on where I've come into this situation where somebody's losing their shit and it's directed at me, even though it's not because I messed up. I've hit all my marks. I've checked all my boxes. As soon as I told them, we're a team and we got this and don't worry about it. And here's why. And I showed them where we were progress-wise, and I showed them how we were going to hit our deadline, and I showed them how we were actually going to do better than the original project vision. They calmed down. All that animosity just washed away. And we were a team again, and we were all mushing in the same direction, and it worked out. Nothing exploded. Nothing went wrong. Nobody got fired. So what could have been a situation just filled with animosity and problems and me versus them and ego and all this stuff, I just brought it back to the fact that we're all working on the same thing and we all want a success here. So let's just make this happen. That goes a long way with people, to show them that you got their back no matter what, especially when you're all working towards the same end. That brings us along to the 7th deadly sin of the 7 deadly sins of working as a professional artist in the entertainment industry. And this is probably the biggest one to me, and I think to a lot of people. This is one that's going to stick with you the longest. This sin is not doing top quality work or being schlocky, lackluster, or just generally phoning it in. I think we probably all have a favorite actor who maybe was in a project that we were excited to see them in, and then when we saw them in that said movie, they phoned it in. They were just getting a paycheck. They weren't really that interested in the script or what the movie was trying to get across. They just wanted another whatever fat payday, and weren't really trying to be that interesting in their performance. And that's usually the sign of a downturn for an artist or a creative or an actor. It's not a good sign. So you want to make sure that you are knocking it out of the park every single time you get to bat. Every time you step to plate, you at least swing for the fences and do everything within your power to make sure that that bat connects with that ball and it flies outside the park. And make sure that people are aware of the fact that you are knocking. I mean, it's going to be evident, so you don't have to bring attention to it. But doing top quality work will always draw people's attention. No pun intended. So the solution is do more than they ask for. Work extra hours unbilled. I know that's crazy, right? But that's how I do. I like to work a couple extra hours during the night that I don't charge for, that I usually lump into the next day. And from my perspective, I'm getting paid quite well for the work as it is. I don't need to be greedy. I would rather over-deliver and take a little bit of a haircut, just a little bit off the top, and make everyone go, wow, how did you do this in this time? Well, a little bit of showmanship. That's how you do it. So even if, sometimes you got to use some unused personal work to fill in the void of what you couldn't get done in time. I'll give you an example. So my first storyboard project that I ever worked, this was my first professional gig with an agent, really at all. I think I had done one comic book for a studio before that, but this was the majors. I was doing a commercial, and it was with a director, a music video director who I really love his work. And so I was already it was one of my heroes that I was working with on my first project, and it was a bit daunting. It was a big deal, and I really wanted to do a good job. So I get on the conference call, and I'm scheduled for a full 8 hours of work, a full day's work. And the director's talking with his production director, and it comes out, I'm not really in the conversation, but I'm just listening and kind of adding in here and there where they need me. Turns out they need it done in half the time, so 4 hours. And it's just chock full of crowd scenes, party scenes, people dancing, And if you talk to anybody who does anything with visual art in the industry, crowd scenes are some of the most difficult and time-consuming and really painstaking, because they want to see every single person in the crowd. So you have to draw out every single person in the crowd. It's very time-consuming. So what would have been a full 8 hours now got condensed into 4 hours, and it had to deal with some of the most difficult subject matter you could deal with. And he said, "Can you do that?" It was the first time they both just directed a question at me in the conversation. I went, "Yeah, I can do that. Oh, for sure. Yes, that will be done by 1 p.m. No problem." And I didn't know how I was going to do it. Well, luckily for me, I draw all the time. And I had all these kind of ink line drawings of people just kind of hanging out, throwing their hands in the air, doing whatever, kind of party scenes. I don't remember what the project was from. I don't remember where, but I knew I had these laying there. And I just went through my personal stuff real quick and grabbed everything that I could get that was already done, that looked like it would fit in the back of a party. And I cobbled it all together, and it worked. It worked really well. And so they were happy. I was happy. And nothing exploded. Nobody got fired that day. That wouldn't have been possible had I not just had folders and folders and folders of personal work that I was ready and willing to just throw into the fire and get cooking when things got hectic. So you got to always have all these little kind of caches or caches of support, of ways to kind of set yourself up for success. And the bonus sin, if there is such a thing, this one I think is in many ways the most important. But it also, I felt like when I was making this list, when I was writing this out, I was like, nobody would do this. This is crazy. But the truth is, in our day and age, the way people like to talk, how everyone's self-snitching on social media and just talking for clout, I feel I have to say this. So this is the big one. This will get you fired and sued and run out of the industry on a rail if you do wrong with this one. It's a big one. So loose lips sink ships has been true since World War II, maybe even before, right? Loose lips sink ships. When you walk onto a new project, sometimes you'll be working with very important people, very heavy names in the industry, and they've got projects that they want to protect. So they're going to have these like very thick War and Peace size NDA, and NDA stands for non-disclosure agreement. And if you sign one of these NDAs and read it, you need to read what you're signing first off. Read it and understand it. If you don't understand it, Google it. If you don't understand it after that, take it to a lawyer before you sign it. Because these are very important documents and they could affect the way that the rest of your career plays out if you're not careful. So take this one very, 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 very seriously. As a very wise woman in a very scary movie once told me, shush. I've signed things that go cover from one end of the universe to the other to the end of time. I can't talk about these things. So I could be a time traveling spaceman and I still couldn't disclose some of the things that I've worked on. And that's okay by me. It'll come out when it comes out, and I'll tell people about it when it does, or maybe it never shows up the light of day, and that's okay too. It's kind of a cool secret, something I got to work on that I can't talk about. So take your NDAs very seriously and honor them. If you say you were going to keep this to yourself, then do just that. Because the last thing you want to do is really screw yourself over and find yourself in court looking across at some very well-paid lawyers whose only job is to make sure they make your life very, very uncomfortable moving forward. And those lawyers get paid very well and they're good at their jobs. So luckily for me, I've never had to find out because I didn't F around, right? But FAFO is real and you will find out if you F around. So keep this in mind. Don't play with legalities when it comes to these companies, because I promise you they don't play when it comes to their intellectual properties, when it comes to their characters, and when it comes to their copyrights. They will protect them like a caveman protects his cave. It's really their claim to fame is that ownership. So a lot of people like to get online and talk and get clout and make little hints and cute little whatevers. I would caution you, and I would say just don't even try to be cute about it. Don't even try to be vague and just like Candyman, just psh. Don't say it. No. And it's a way to show everybody that you're working with that you can be trusted, and trusted with very big keys to the kingdom. It's a huge honor that you get to know about all these things ahead of time, and not the kind of honor where you want to dangle it in front of other people's faces, but it's just something to know for yourself, something to feel good about. And the funny thing about Hollywood, the entertainment industry, or really any industry that has to do with creativity is it may be a very big community, but it's a small town. And some of you know what I mean. It's people talk and everybody knows everybody. And there's always room for a little bit of gossip about this freelancer I worked with. And it could either be a good bit of information. Man, I worked with this person. They were so good. They calm in chaos. They did everything I asked and then some, and I would hire them again in a minute. Or I worked with this absolute nightmare of a person, and I got to tell you all about it. Either one, they're going to talk. And so if your name's going to get out there, I'd rather have it attached to quality work, easygoing workmanship, of style of working with other people, just a positive report card, essentially. And that'll get you more work. This industry is always about courting the next job after you're done with the job you're working on. And if your name gets known as the go-to person who handles things calmly and with a sense of excitement, people love that. It's contagious. It's reassuring when you got someone that you're next to and they're confident and they're killing it. It's such a privilege to work with people like that. And when I get to pick my dream teams moving forward, you better believe I remember all the people I worked with. And I remember the ones who were fun and exciting to work with that I still talk to this day. And I remember the guys who we had a less than positive experience, so we say it like that. But in either case, I always walked away with a good word. I always said something positive. Like if I saw them on the street, it would be a good experience. I'd be like, hey, how you doing? How are things going? I don't have a bad word to say about anybody. You know, we may have not had didn't see eye to eye at one point. We may have gotten through some difficulties on a project, but that's all it is. And some of these people that you meet, they're going to actually be creative collaborators moving forward. You may not know it now, but how you treat them it's going to decide whether you guys work together in the future and whether you have collaborations and all kinds of super positive experiences. So just keep all these things in mind. All right, you guys. My name is Noah. This is the Big Bad Anime Channel, and we're getting through it, right? If you can check all these boxes, watch out for these 7 deadly sins, you're going to be ahead of the pack, because not everybody does this. Strange as it may seem, not everybody's on this information. So keep this on your halo. Keep something to think about as you're working towards or working on what you're working on. All right, you guys, it has been my absolute pleasure. You know I love to be here. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.